Hello, Formula One and IndyCar fans. Welcome to Formula Pun Racer. You're probably wondering, why am I soaking wet? To represent the fact that, while this video speaks of my review on the Singapore Grand Prix, which occurred last week on October 2nd, let's just say that the race didn't get off to a good start. In fact, it was delayed by an hour because of, ta-da, rain. I'm sure that made us all wet blankets.
It's lights out and away we go. Leclerc and Perez get away well. Hamilton behind Leclerc wanting to get on with it, as is Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri, and Sergio Perez leads them into the first corner as he did in Baku.
Before I continue with my Singapore Grand Prix review, there's some recent news developing in the world of Indy cars. Coinciding around the same time that James Earl Jones, for you Star Wars fans, being the voice of Darth Vader, has decided to retire his use of the voice to give it to someone else. Well, unfortunately, 7-time NASCAR champion Jimmie Johnson, who is presently driving with Chip Ganassi Racing, 2022 Indy 500 Rookie of the Year winner, and a best finish of 5th in Iowa this year, has decided to retire full-time from car racing. Well, nothing to get too bummed about, fans. I'm sure Jimmie Johnson will continue to race, just not on a full-time basis. Will he return to race in the Indianapolis 500 in 2023? That's up in the air at this time. He most likely could, and no doubt with Ganassi Racing. Even if he doesn't win, I'm sure Jimmie Johnson is proud to at least be a teammate of the winning driver that won this year's Indy 500. Well, Mr. Ganassi sure knows how to pick the right drivers to win, and having faith in Jimmie Johnson, it tells me one thing about this Pittsburgh native. Ganassi is indeed a real chip off the old block. In contrast to last year's embarrassing Belgian Grand Prix, which was ruined by rain that wouldn't let up, even though it was delayed by an hour this year, when the rain stopped, the track was still damp, but the cars would take off in a snap. And we would be in for a big spectacle of spray and sparks behind each of those 20 starters. Charles Leclerc of Ferrari started on pole, Sergio Perez of Mexico and his Red Bull started second, and from the beginning, the Mexican charged ahead of the Monegasque to take the lead. But 7 laps in, it was game over, unfortunately, for Zhou Guanyu of Alfa Romeo and Nicholas Latifi of Canada driving for Williams, which adds insult to injury for the young Canadian because at the end of the year, he's out of a ride for 2023.
Game over, yeah!
Considering it's hard to tell who exactly is at fault regarding Guanyu Zhou and Nicholas Latifi tangling with each other at this point, which in turn will burn out the yellow flag and the safety car, I hope that after this, bygones will be bygones, but hopefully there'll be no ill will between Guanyu Zhou and Nicholas Latifi later on, for if so, this is probably what's going to happen. The race would go back to green on lap 11, with Sergio Checo Perez continuing to lead the race over Charles Leclerc's Ferrari. As for Perez's Dutch teammate, the Flying Dutchman Max Verstappen, who is leading the points before and after this race, spoiler alert wise, well, he unfortunately qualified 8th for this race and didn't have a great show in this case. In fact, up until lap 20, he was fighting to get around Fernando Alonso's Alpine Renault, to which the Dutchman finally was able to, when on lap 20, Alonso's Renault engine finally gave out, giving him one position better than he had before. So unfortunately, Max did not win the Singapore Grand Prix, so his chances of catching up to Sebastian Vettel and Michael Schumacher in terms of having the most consecutive wins in a single season has come to an end. He'll have to wait for next year in the hopes he can do that. Like, Vettel and Michael Schumacher have the most consecutive wins in a season, 9 of them between the two. Well, at least Verstappen still has a comfortable lead over Charles Leclerc, Red Bull as well over Ferrari. And so, unfortunately, well, as the race would progress, 5 laps after Alonso's engine quit, it would be a double whammy for Williams when Alexander Albon, who had finally recovered in time to race in Singapore, well, the slippery track caught out the young Thai and he was tied up into the wall. With Alexander Albon crashing out, giving a double whammy retirement for Williams, one lap later, it would be a double whammy as well for Alpine Renault, when Esteban Ocon's engine went out the same way as Fernando Alonso. Game over for the French team. But more interestingly enough, on lap 33, when the racing would resume full speed, Lewis Hamilton of England in his Mercedes had a steady fourth place run when suddenly he lost control going into one of the corners and he went nose first into the tire barrier. Fortunately, Lewis Hamilton was able to return to the pits to replace his front wing and be on his merry way. Unfortunately, that error cost him a comfortable fourth spot and he finished ninth. The following lap, the sun had set on Japanese driver Yuki Tsunoda, with the slippery conditions taking its toll on the drivers yet again. This would be the final retirement of the race, as Tsunoda lost control and his AlphaTauri went nose first into the tire barrier with much more damaging results.
What'd you say?
Charles Leclerc's Ferrari did all it could to get by Sergio Perez's Red Bull, but when the checkered flag finally fell, there was no denying that Sergio Perez's Red Bull was the better car to take the Mexican to his second race win of the season. Felicidad, Checo, on your historic win in Singapore and your fourth overall career victory in Formula One. As a result, Red Bull continues to extend its points lead over Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, and his teammate, the Flying Dutchman Max Verstappen, finishing 7th, has a 104-point lead over Charles Leclerc now, and a 106-point lead over his teammate Sergio Perez. So Perez is 2 points behind Leclerc in the Drivers' Championship. With 5 races left in this season, Leclerc and Perez still have a slight mathematical chance to take the lead over Max Verstappen, but I wouldn't bet on it. And in another interesting development of the race is the fact that with Max Verstappen finishing 7th, his finish was sandwiched between the two Aston Martins of Lance Stroll and Sebastian Vettel, who finished 6th and 8th.
Oh, excellent!
With Lance starting the race in 12th and Sebastian Vettel 14th, they each gained 6 spots throughout the Singapore Grand Prix to finish 6th and 8th respectively. As a result of this double points finish, the team has leapfrogged their way from 9th to 7th in the Constructors' Championship.
Oh!
Ahead of Haas and AlphaTauri. The green team from Britain now has 37 Constructors' points, so let's see if the British team from Silverstone can gain a lot more in the coming 5 races of the season, and it'll be great to see how Fernando Alonso will help himself and Lance to get grander results for 2023. Congratulations, Lawrence Stroll. I guess you did have some confidence that the team would do well someday. Well, Singapore proved it well, and I'm really proud to hear that you got this far. So I wish you, your son, and Sebastian, and then future driver Fernando Alonso, the best for Aston Martin. But to get back to the celebration of Sergio Perez's historic win in Singapore, no doubt about it, since he still has a slight chance to win the championship, well, even if he doesn't, seeing him win in Singapore in such a grand manner like this, it sure gives a lot of Mexican fans something exciting to talk about. Oh boy, I'm glad you find that funny, Lelouch v. Britannia. In addition, I'd like to say to you, man, I wish I had your looks. Anyway, for all you F1 and IndyCar fans who might be fans of also Code Geass or anime in general, the source of anime is about to represent Formula One once again. For the first time in 3 years, Formula One is returning to Japan to race at the International Suzuka Raceway. The Japanese Grand Prix is definitely a favorite of many drivers, and the fans there are very passionate about racing. October 9th is when you can catch the Japanese Grand Prix for the first time since 2019. Who will win it? And to think that the Japanese craze is starting to expand, because with Honda not only sponsoring Suzuka and providing technical support and alliances to Red Bull and AlphaTauri, It turns out that they will increase their support to both teams, which means that the word Honda will be plastered on the paint job of both cars for the Japanese Grand Prix onwards. So it may not be completely official returning for Honda, but it'll look good for the photos and such and make all the Japanese fans proud. Especially, as I just said, the fans there are very passionate about racing. So, can Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Pierre Gasly, or local boy Yuki Tsunoda provide a historic win to Honda on home soil? No doubt the fans will definitely erupt in excitement if they do. Let's see what happens, and tune in, as I said, to see the cars return to this sacred event, the Japanese Grand Prix. And we'll see if Lelouch and other anime characters will tune in from their homes to watch this race and make Japan proud. In IndyCar news, Michael Andretti celebrates his 60th birthday today, with today being October 5th. So I say, happy birthday, Michael Andretti. I wish your team the best of luck next year with Kyle Kirkwood, Romain Grosjean, and Colton Herta, who has extended his contract with the team into the following years. And who's replacing Kyle Kirkwood at AJ Foyt Racing, you ask? A Danish butter cookie named Benjamin Pedersen, who has graduated from Indy Lights Racing. So we got 2 Danish butter cookies to race in the Indy 500, or IndyCar season at least, for 2023. And as for Alex Palou, while he has extended one more year with Chip Ganassi into 2023, it is said that he will go to Arrow McLaren Schmidt Peterson after all in 2024. But for 2023, let's see if the Spaniard can deliver more race wins and successes, if not the Indy 500 for Chip Ganassi. If Palou can do it, it tells us one thing. How Mr. Ganassi was able to keep Palou around for one more year tells us that he is, as I said, a chip off the old block. Here's a bonus fact. In addition to the fact that Michael Andretti's birthday is today, 60 years before he was born, Philadelphia native Larry Fine of the Three Stooges was born in 1902. So, let us say happy birthday to both Michael Andretti and Larry Fine for providing fans, be it of racing or humor, the greatest excitement that we could ever have from you. Michael, for all your race wins and being a team owner to win the Indy 500 5 times as a team owner, and Larry Fine for making us laugh alongside Curly Joe, Shemp, Mo, and Curly. The final article of this video is that the IndyCar 2023 schedule has been announced. It begins in St. Petersburg, Florida in mid-March and ends at Laguna Seca Raceway, California in September. A lot of racing excitement is guaranteed, and who will take the championship this year, much less the Indy 500? Tune in March of 2023 to see the excitement begin for IndyCar racing. Well, that concludes my video review of the Singapore Grand Prix. Thanks for watching my video, everyone. If you like, please share, subscribe, and comment to my channel, Formula Pun Racer, for more racing excitement and news, as well as a chance to laugh at some of the action that goes about. Congratulations once again, Sergio Perez, on taking your second Formula One race of the season. See you in Japan, everyone. Sayonara. I'm Aaron Cylinder, firing on all cylinders.